Yes, good afternoon, good afternoon. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, how does it feel to be an African, to travel all the way from your village, your community, to the Western world just to seek greener pastures, to seek a better life, to learn something new, to also impact on the society you have just visited? How does it feel? What have been your journey? What have been your turning point? What have been your lessons? And also, what are you also taking home with you? Today, on the Personality Profile Show on Radio Top Africa, I'm going to host one of the finest gentlemen from Africa who has seen a lot in his journey to Europe. You are with me on Radio Top Africa Hamburg, and as usual, the show is what? Personality Profile. Yes, we dig into people's personalities and their profiles to know who they are, where they are coming from, and where they inspire to go, and how to collectively we can all build a better society for ourselves, both in the diaspora and at home. And I always tell you, okay, this very radio or this very project we run is for the entire African community. So, being it Nigerian, being it Cameroonian, being it a Kenyan, Algerian, Tunisian, Ghanaian, South African, we are here for you. What is your story? What is your profile? There are a lot of Africans that are doing so well in this country and in this European Union, like economic union that we call the EU, that needs their story out there so that it will be a lesson and it will also be a motivational story for others to follow suit. Some come through the desert, cross the Mediterranean Sea. Some, they come by the sea, by stowaway. Some come through student. Some come through visiting visa. Others, they fly their grandmother's broomsticks to Europe. Yes, so without talking much, I have my guest here. And you know the tradition here. I will only address him by his name I'm comfortable with. Then he will tell us who he is. Then I can pick it up from there. So this afternoon, I'm with Mr. BOAMAH. And I will say, welcome, sir. Can you hear me anyway? Yeah, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much for the opportunity and that brief introduction. That was interesting,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yes. So when we say, if I call you BOAMAH, okay, and for me to broaden it or for people to really know who you are, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, first of all, my name is Maxwell BOAMAH AMOFA. Of course, I'm from Ghana, born on Thursday. So um, I'm called Yao BOAMAH AMOFA Maxwell. That's how people call me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently the executive director for an NGO called the International Partnership for African Development, and also current president of the African Students Union at the European University viadrina,
Yeah.
in order, yeah, about an hour. And yes, I mean, aside that, I also work as a journalist, writing on issues on Africa, particularly about the political situation and how historical issues have actually influenced current decisions in some parts of Africa, especially if you look at the Sahel, three Sahelian countries, what is happening there, and also current issues in Ghana, like how the government is trying to mitigate the issues. Yes, aside that, I also doubles with some NGOs, of course, in Berlin and other parts of the world, like Nigeria. And that one had got more to do with issues of collaboration between African countries and European countries. So basically between Africa and Europe. And to me, this is also very vital, in ensuring that there is strategic partnerships that benefit both parties mutually
Mm-hmm.
and not more a dependent kind of partnership that we had during the colonial era. So yes, basically that is what I do. Aside that, I'm a master's graduate and an aspiring lawyer soon.
Wow. So, Mr. BOAMAH, if
Yeah.
like I choose to call you BOAMAH, or I should go a bit local, the Yao, so that we can still
Yes,
make people understand what Yao means or how we still carry those kind of names as um, our titles. When I say titles, like in quotes, okay, because I'm an Akwesi, okay, yes. So sometimes people ask, why those names? And we try to explain to them they are related to the days that you were born. So I'll call you Yabuama. Okay, then I'll hide the Maxwell a bit because no matter what we do, we are still African, right? Good.
exactly.
So Mr. Yao, when you were just introducing yourself, you first said you are also the president
Mhm.
of the African students, or is it the students in the
Yes,
university? Does it has to do with only the African students or just the student body, the SRC at large?
well, basically, it's tailored for the African student,
Okay.
but due to the way the EU laws work,
Yeah.
it's open to other members. So we have people from Europe who are interested in issues of Africa. We
Mm.
have a lot of students from programs like culture and social studies
Yeah.
who are interested in things about Africa and how they can actually strengthen partnership between Africa and then Europe. So we have people from different countries. So now it's not just about Africa. I think we have more even people from outside Africa than people from Africa itself. So
Mm.
it's quite a large group. We have quite a huge number, from different places, not just Africa.
Okay. So let's go back home. Okay. Let's like if it is a movie, we'll say previous life. All right. So Mr. Yabuama growing up in Africa, how was it like? How was your life? Do you also, well, like, sorry, were you also throwing stones around, using catapults and chasing lizards, climbing trees, and, you know, dogs chasing you after trying to play with people's mangoes and stuffs?
Well, that's very interesting, especially if you watch documentaries about Africa,
Yeah.
how it's been portrayed like people living on trees and chasing lions everywhere. Well, well, maybe fortunately for me,
Yeah.
if that is the correct word to use, well, I grew up just like most people grew up in Africa. Um, I schooled in Ghana, right from basic education to the university. I attended the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where I studied political science. Um, but being in Ghana, I was deeply involved in the political affairs of the country. And of course, I worked under the Ministry of Works and Housing. But my focus was more with the development of the community.
Okay.
So in 2019, for instance, I organized a peaceful protest in collaboration with the Ghana Police Service. And that had to do with deplorable condition of the road linking the two major cities, two of the major cities, that is Kumasi and then
That is
Sunyani.
Kumasi and Accra. Oh?
Two of the major, not Kumasi and Accra. I mean, that road comes from Accra,
Mm.
then Kumasi to Sunyani.
Okay.
But that part from Kumasi to Sunyani was in a terrible condition.
Mm.
The 15 minutes journey was now taking us about 2 to 3 hours, and sometimes even more. Yeah, so upon consultation, for instance, with the member of parliament of the community, with the chiefs of the area, with the Ghana Police Service, we all agreed that, okay, let's come up with a peaceful protest, so that the government will know that this is our concern. So yes, I led this protest personally. We presented a petition to the government, and
Yeah.
now the road has been fixed.
Oh,
Now
that's good.
we have quite a great road, and yeah, the distance has been cut short to 15 minutes or even less. Yeah, to travel. You don't need so much time. So being
That's
in
good.
Ghana, that is what I was actually involved in, yeah, before I traveled outside the country. So basically, we are not living on trees. Basically, we are not throwing stones around. Yes, we are studying just like everybody else.
Yeah.
We are conducting our affairs just like any youth will conduct their affairs in any country, in any
Mm-hmm.
continent. And so basically, that is what I was doing in Africa.
Okay, so for me, poking into your profile that
Yeah.
I'm aware of, I have seen
Mhm.
that you've touched soil with the Senegal
Mhm.
people, and also you've done some works in Senegal. Did you go there as a student, or what actually took you to those African countries as well?
Well, not to go there as a student, but
Mm.
mostly that's to do more with the political affairs of the country.
Okay, of that
Yes,
particular country.
no, of Africa in general.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and regarding the current situations of African countries,
Yeah.
because African countries adopted very different approach from their predecessor.
Mm.
And in the case of West Africa, we've seen it in the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, taking quite a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
So most of these media companies are actually called me on to actually explain what is happening, the dynamics, and whether these policies adopted by these countries can actually transform Africa to what
Mm.
we all crave for, or is just another means for people to actually instill themselves in power for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because we've seen this in several places where people come in with very good policies. We see them very good leaders,
Yeah.
but after a few years, you realize that things have changed. Drastically. We saw it with Mugabe, President Mugabe of Zimbabwe. It was very good, but later things turned out.
Yeah, one of the freedom fighters of Africa.
Yes. So basically, with the West African Democracy Radio in Senegal, I had such interactions with them
Mm.
usually, and also about the geopolitical situation and how it affects Africa. So we've seen the Russia-Ukraine war,
Mm-hmm.
and some Africans being caught in this war. How did they even get there? And how does even this war even affect Africans? So these are some of the things that I discuss, not
Yeah.
just with the West African Democracy Radio, but with other media companies as well as help with policy briefings with other organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Berlin, for instance, I held several discussions with an organization called Liberty Cook Partnership for Human Rights, and it's had to do specifically about this war in Ukraine and the issues in Belarus, issues of political prisoners in Belarus, and
Mm.
mostly I tailor this to suit our African personality. So
Okay.
how does these things affect African people? The African people in Belarus, in Minsk, how does it affect them? The African people in the Donbass region, how are they coping? How are they moving out to other places or to their continent? And
Mm.
how state actually supporting them? You know, so basically, this is what I engage the media companies on, including the West African Democracy Radio in Senegal.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this with them?
Well, for a very long time. I don't think I really remember the time. I don't
Yeah.
think I remember the period. Yeah, but
Yeah, I was just hoping it wasn't the time things were a bit difficult for that country democratically with their democratic system
mhm.
where we had a lot of instabilities in that country. How were you coping, or it wasn't around that era when you were there? Things were a bit good.
Actually, even even when I was there, I was not at the radio station per se because most of the
Mm.
things are done online.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So regarding the political situation, uh, I don't think it's got nothing to do actually
Okay.
basically with me negatively. Yeah. So, but I think that Senegal has one of the stable political situations. The current president, very young president, doing
Mm-hmm.
quite a good job, having yeah, having very good transport system. He's trying as much as possible to cancel a lot of colonial agreement and to ensure that they are sovereign country and make their own decisions. So generally, I think they are doing very well.
Okay. So before I come back to your personality, like to narrow it down to you again, This Sahel region
Mm-hmm.
and the geopolitical environment of the globe at large,
Mm-hmm.
blending it in with this global conflicts or global threats that we are having in this modern day. How do you think it affects the Sahel region? And some of the, should I call it, developments we are getting with coup d'etats and counter coup d'etats and other countries minding their business with their democratic system. What is actually the issue?
Well, the issue is more historical,
Mm,
and the leaders that we had, um, somehow to say, did not do much to actually change the historical condition. Because if I'm allowed to give typical example of the 1958, where France, which colonized most part of these West African countries, was leaving, most of these countries were actually forced to sign certain agreement,
mm-hmm.
which came to be known as the Franc-Afrique.
Yeah.
And of course, some of them had great leaders. In Burkina Faso, they had Thomas Sankara, who actually changed theirs, and he said, no, we are people of dignity, and then we must pursue our own agenda. So he changed the name um, from something Volta, forgotten, to Burkina Faso, which means people of dignity.
Yeah. Upper Volta.
Yeah, Upper Volta to Burkina Faso. Then, but some countries were not really able to go that right way. So most of the things actually were there. They were still there, but they were just trying to mitigate it.
Mm,
Yeah, even in Guinea, they had the same problem. When they tried to go out under Sekou Touré in 1958, France launched a serious conflict on them called the Operation Persil
mm-hmm.
in 1960, destroyed the whole country, destroyed their critical infrastructure. So, yes, Sekou Touré was able to make some changes, but later everything reverted back. So most of the leaders that came back did not do much. So
Yeah.
most of these francophone countries were some of the poorest countries in Africa. You look at Niger, had so much uranium but had no electricity. But they were exporting uranium to produce nuclear energy to produce electricity in some parts of Europe. You know, so these leaders feel like, you know what, we've had enough of this. It's time for us to actually cater for our own people. So we are
Yeah.
taking our into our own hands and then making the changes. You know,
Yeah.
but of course, sometimes we are a bit skeptical about this. So far, they are doing so well, but we are a bit skeptical about this because of the history of military rule in Africa.
Mm,
Uh, because they usually come up as very good people, they are coming to save the people, but in the end, they end up doing worse. And typical example is our own country, Ghana,
mm,
when, of course, at some point in 1966, Ghana experienced certain kind of economic crisis under Nkrumah himself. And then we had Kutuka coming in, General Kutuka coming in, saying that, you know what, we are going to change everything, we are going to make everything better. But what happened? He became worse, and he even destroyed the country. I mean, we've seen it in Congo. Mobutu Sese Seko overthrew Lumumba, thinking that things are going to be different, but he ended up making the country worse. You know, so
yeah.
a bit skeptical about this kind of military government. But looking at everything that is happening around the world, now people believe that certain countries will not allow these countries to even govern themselves, but because they are under the protection of other countries like Russia and China, um, maybe they will have some level of sovereignty. But what is happening in the world is telling a different story, that you can only rely on your own,
Mm-hmm.
and not any foreign power.
Yeah.
So they must exercise cautious, and I think that it's something that we are all learning from, that Africa
Yeah.
can, but we must come together wherever you find ourselves, whether we are in Europe, whether we are in Africa. We must come together to build a continent, because that is the only way to survive. We can only rely on our own. We can only rely through unity to actually develop, and not through foreign
That's
power.
fine. That's fine. So still, let me again. I'm taking you back. So with your education in Ghana, with your grooming in Ghana, when you were transiting from Africa to Europe, tell me, how was the feeling like? What was running through your mind? Especially, I'm always interested to ask people this question. Um, your first day of leaving Africa to Europe, can you tell me how that feeling like was like? How like what you went through to get here? Like let's say in 2 3 minutes, tell me something about it. Whilst I look at your face.
Well, that's interesting. But
Yeah.
the interesting part is I came from Moscow to Germany.
Yeah.
My first experience outside Africa, I had been to a lot of African countries, but my first experience outside Africa was to Russia,
Okay.
to Moscow. Actually, I had a lot going on in my mind because the country itself, and because of our history, has been really labeled as a country of discrimination, racism, conflict, wars. So I was thinking a lot, like, am I even safe? And what am I doing? What kind of risk am I taking? Maybe I should just stay in my country peacefully, you know. Yes, but I mean, I went there. I realized, human is human. The ordinary people living there are just like us. They're just
Yeah.
like everybody else. You know, there is not much problem. Of course, there will be some small issues, but that happens everywhere. It happens even in
Mm.
Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that taking the political situation aside, which I didn't want to involve myself in, the ordinary people are great people to live with. Yeah. But yeah, moving from Russia to Germany. Yeah. Now I feel like I'm moving to where we have a lot of Africans, we have a lot of Ghanaians.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it going to be like?
Okay.
You know, first was the visa process, which to me was a bit easier compared to the experience I've had about people applying from Africa.
Yeah.
And they have to book appointment. You need a library of documents to apply for visa and all that, and you have longer waiting periods. But applying from Moscow was easier. Actually, it didn't
Yeah.
take me more than 6 weeks, and then most of the things were done online. Even though I had to submit documents to the visa application service, um, but it was a smooth process, and the people were very respectful at the visa application center. So the process was very smooth. I think the delay I had was when I arrived at the Dusseldorf airport,
Mm-hmm.
because we had a lot of people coming in and you had to join longer queues at there. So I had a lot of thought like, oh, all these people are traveling here. Are they all coming for the same thing I'm coming for, or they are coming for a different thing? And I saw a lot of foreigners
Yeah.
because I mean Russia is not like that. Yes, they
Oh,
have
okay.
foreigners. Yes, they have foreigners, but
Yep.
most of them are from the post-Soviet state, post-Soviet countries. So Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Which
arriving
we
in
just
Germany,
share border with.
yes, but coming to Germany and finding a lot of Africans in long queue, like wow, that was like okay, I'm back home. Like it's basically like being in Africa. So it was very interesting.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you also get that magical experience of your first time in Europe? Then you find vehicles or cars you see in Africa as luxurious. Then you see them here as taxis. Then you ask yourself, where am I?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, especially Germany, where you have Mercedes as taxis. It's something interesting. Um, yeah. When I got here, I was really surprised to see that
Yeah.
they're using Mercedes for a lot of things, which is something that I also learned from. I was surprised, but I learned from them
Mm-hmm.
that you know what, you need to first prioritize what you produce before other people can prioritize it. You
Can you
know,
say that again? Can you repeat it again?
you need to prioritize what
Mm-hmm.
you produce in order for others to also prioritize it. If you don't love what you produce, forget about others even looking at it.
Yeah.
And you could clearly see this in the German system. The taxis are Mercedes Benz, the ambulance are Mercedes Benz, the police vehicles are Mercedes Benz or VW,
Mm-hmm.
BMW. You could clearly see, you know what, they are using exactly what they produce.
Yeah.
That is quite the opposite of Ghana, where we have tanker, but we don't use it for ambulance. So if we could actually prioritize some of the things we use, we can also get there. Yeah. So uh, I was surprised, but it has really taught me a lot, and I've really learned a lot from Germany and Europe in general. Yeah, that I think that I've learned in most part of the world.
That's fine. So, yeah. Um, again, looking at this life you have come to see in Europe, or let me narrow it down to Germany because we are talking from Germany now. I'm in Hamburg, you are in Berlin. First of all, I want to ask, when it comes to the integration process, the onboarding process, how did you find it? How was it like with you?
First, let me share my experience with even getting to my university in Frankfurt Oder,
Mm-hmm.
which is Frankfurt Oder is a small city, one
Yeah.
hour from Berlin. I had to move from Cologne with IC to this place. I got here and I was completely lost. I didn't know where to go. And unfortunately, the train system was was interrupted a bit,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to take a bus. And approaching people was a bit difficult because you approach people and they'll be running away. And I was a bit surprised, like, man, I'm just asking questions.
Mm.
Yes. So at the beginning, it was difficult. I felt like, okay, I shouldn't even approach anybody about anything. Maybe I should read about it.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, I realized that, you know what, people have their own differences, but majority of the people
Yeah.
are willing to give you the information if you approach them politely and ask for direction. Yeah. So yeah, at the beginning it was a bit difficult, but later on I started asking questions. I asked about them. Okay, where do I do this? What do I do? You know, and most of the times, of course, they'll give you a website to read about, but I usually ask them to share their experiences with me and how I can overcome their mistakes. You know, so that actually helped me a lot to actually integrate to some level. And I personally didn't want people to go through this kind of situations because I went through some little challenges. So that is why we came up. I actually came up with the African Students Union in the university because we didn't have that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
so that the students, the new students
Mm.
coming from Africa, will actually be exposed to a lot of things that they have no idea about. You know, so if you look at the structure of the union, it actually ensures collaboration, for instance, with even companies to ensure that Africans who come here, students, are actually employed. At least they have some source of income so that they can easily integrate into the system. Because you integrate better when you are with the people, when you work with them, when you live with them, when you spend time with them,
Yeah.
and of course you earn some level of income. So that is what we are doing, and it has really helped us a lot. We've had a lot of cultural exchange with the European institutions and organizations, and we have a lot of collaboration. And it feels like home because you have your people, you have foreigners with you, but you still feel together. There is this bond between you and the Europeans and people from other places, and it actually feels good, yes, to be in the midst of those people.
Yeah. So comparing Germany, the onboarding or the integration process of Germany and probably your first land, which I mean, Russia, would you say German is the onboarding in Germany is a bit easier as compared to Russia, or that of Russia was a bit cumbersome as compared to Germany?
I mean, they all have their good part and their bad part. I think it will be difficult to say one is better than one
Mm.
because Germany, one thing I like about Germany is that if you are, for instance, a student, if you're a normal student, you have
Mm.
the chance to learn the language for free. And this is one key thing in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That is quite different in Russia.
Mm.
In Russia, you have a semester to learn the language for free. But if you really want to learn deeper about the language, you would have to pay for it.
Okay.
So if you don't have that resources to pay for it, it will be a bit difficult to actually integrate freely. But the German system gives you that opportunity to integrate freely. They give you that language course, learn the language, and after that, if there is any other thing, then we can talk about it.
Mm.
Yeah. So that is the difference. But if you look at the Russian system, it's much easier, from my personal experience, it's much easier to get a job, even if you don't understand their language, than it is in Germany. In Germany, you need to understand the language. And I think that is why they made the language free. Um, but over there, I think it's because, of course, the number of people compared to the number of jobs, you can see that the balance is a bit shaky because they have very low population. They have a lot of jobs. So Now they open it up for international people from different countries who really want to work. So if you look at the Africans, you have the Africans working in the media and they don't understand Russian. They are working as teachers, they don't understand Russian. You know, they give you that opportunity to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, so that is the difference between them. So everybody have a good side and they have their bad side. So it will be quite difficult to actually, uh, you know, and say one is better than the other. But I think that in Germany, once you know the language, you are
Yeah.
good to go. You can easily do whatever you want to do. You can do whatever job you want. Once you have the skill, I think you can get it easily. Yes, compared to Russia, I think, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
That's true. That's true because Germany really gives that opportunity of, or to people to learn the language. Then from there, the opportunities are there for you to grab. Yes, most of us as Africans or Auslanders, they call us, like, I mean, foreigners, do complain of the bureaucracy of the language and also the system, how to get yourself integrated into the system as quick as possible. Yeah, so I don't know how your experience have been whilst you are here and how that has also shaped your life. But then,
Mhm.
in doing this interaction, I still want to know from you what is your perspective of the educational system in Europe or in Germany as compared to Ghana or Africa? Because sometimes we do have this, I will call it school of thought, that in Africa we kind of do more of theoretical aspect of it and we don't do the applied aspect of the education. I don't know. Is that true with your experience?
Well, yes, I would say that that is true
How?
to a large extent. Um, you know, the problem is the base. It all deals with history, and we've not done much to change it.
Mm.
Historically, when Africa was colonized, the idea was for us to follow instructions. It wasn't for us to produce. So that is how our education was structured for people to be given the theory to follow it, so that the actual work will be done by the powers that actually colonize the country. So we are to learn, know, and then produce raw materials and send to Europe to industries to, you know, to produce them, to produce finished goods and then send it back to Africa. And we have not done much to change this system. So you go to class and you have a lot of books to read. But at the end of the day, you cannot really produce the practicality of it. You know,
Mm.
we are not taught how to produce the things. We are just taught how to grab information. But of course, things are changing gradually because we've seen some students, even in high schools, producing some kind of robotics.
Yeah.
Um, we've seen the universities trying to even manufacture their own cars. So, yes, things are changing. But compared to Europe, of course, we are not there. Europe is producing trains, they are producing planes. Now, AI technology, we are not there yet. So it will be quite difficult to compare. But gradually, I think that we are getting there. With my personal experience, I mean, I study law and I have had this exposure, international law. I've been to the European Court of Human Rights. I've been to the International Court of Justice. I've been to the International Criminal Court to actually have practical experience of whatever I'm being taught in class. So I'm not just reading from the book. I'm not just reading articles. But I sit there. I've sat in the ICC to witness a case, to witness how the case was conducted, you know. And after that, I had a meeting with one of the judges of the ICC to
Wow.
ask questions about the procedure.
Yeah.
So why this procedure? Why did they do this? Why did you do this? You know. So after living there, I realized that now I have that practical experience that can enable me to work directly in the court.
Mm.
But that is not the case if you work if you are in Africa studying there.
Yeah.
You are just theory. You don't even know sometimes where the ICC is based, which is a problem. So basically, that is the difference. But we hope that things will gradually change and Africa will become, Africa will become what we want Africa to
Surely it will become such or as we wish. But I also think that most of our leaders would have to sit up and be up and doing some of the things we try to impact as a continent at large. Yeah, because like you rightly said, in Germany here, when you got here, you felt at home because you saw a lot of Africans and stuff like that. And I can gladly tell you that out of the lots that you have seen, it is only going to be 30% that will be dependent on the government, because most of them, we all try to survive in our own way. We all struggle to survive in our own way. Okay, those that are in the professional or the elite group are there. Those that are in the middle class are also there. Those are in the lower class are also. We have all kinds or all sects of Africans who are found in Germany. And yes, I would also agree that Germany has given certain opportunities for us to climb on or to onboard ourselves on. Though, yes, we still complain or we still have that genuine, no, it's not a complaint, but that genuine concern as to how certain limitations or barriers are also put before us not to go higher. Okay, but before I allow you to address that, I would want us to go for a quick commercial break. Then, when I come back, we'll look at some of the challenges that are here that we can learn and pick back at home so that we can improve the countries we all come from. So, just a quick commercial break, and we'll.
4917641627723. Email us at info@akwaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.tours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Akwaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker to say 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +4917641627723. Email us at info@akwaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.akwabatravelandtours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Akwaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker to say 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +4917641627723. Email us at info@akwaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.akwabatravelandtours.com. Thank you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So welcome again and good afternoon to my viewers and listeners who have stayed to enjoy this discussion. Yes, I'm still online with Mr. Maxwell BOAMAH, and I would say Mr. Yao or Yao. Yeah, who is will I call him a political analyst, well vested in international politics and law. And he was just telling us how he journeyed from Africa as a young boy from Ghana to being who he is currently. And we are still delving into his activities and to know more about him, because the man has a lot in stock. And I think I need to unpack him. You know, we need to unpack him so that we know what and who he really is. So once again, welcome. And I will say stay tuned whilst we enjoy our discussion with Mr. Maxwell. Yes, so Mr. Maxwell, you're welcome back again.
Thank you very much.
Good. Yes, so I was narrowing my discussion towards how our experiences in Europe or in diaspora can actually affect our lives or the lives of our citizenry back at home. Now, with all these countries you have visited, you have seen how they live their life, how they manage their socio-political system, and probably economy, right? If I'm not pulling you to areas that you might not be too comfortable with. Tell me, all right, what have you seen in Germany that, if adapted in your country, Ghana, can change things for us?
Well, thank you once again. And I hold one particular belief, that it is the citizens that build a state. So without the citizens, the government would do everything.
Yeah.
So one thing I've realized in Europe and most places I've been to, most of these advanced countries, is that the citizens take high interest in the policies of the government. The government is not simply allowed to do whatever it wants. So if the government is adopting policy, even the youth can gather themselves. They don't like it. It affects them. It affects them negatively. They people protest against it for the government to drop it. You know, they do not sit back and say that, you know what, for me, I don't care. They can do whatever they want. You know, so I think that if we can adopt that, then we can actually put the government on its toes and tell them that, hey, you are going the wrong way and you need to do the right thing. And I think that this was actually experienced in the recent elections that we had in Ghana, where the current government, the previous government, I mean, people criticize it, but some changes were not made and people did not really like it. So we saw a decline in the voting patterns, that the voting that it used to get in previous elections. Which is a good thing. It's a very good thing. If this government doesn't do what it's supposed to do for the citizens, the same thing will be done to it. So the government is realizing this, and they are trying to make changes to ensure that things are done right. But yes, we need to put more pressure. If we do not like things, the people must go out there and stand on their toes. Putting that aside, the government must also, the political leaders must also have that passionate and compassion about the country they live in. The German foreign minister is sick, he wouldn't travel to other countries for medical care. So they will make sure that what is in the country is done right, so that when they are sick, they can go there. You know, the priority is not to travel outside for medical care. So if we are going to prioritize the fact that if you are sick, you are going to receive medical care in our country, we are going to build our hospitals. If you are going to prioritize that our kids are going to be educated in government public schools, then we are going to build those government public schools. And that is one thing I've realized about all these countries. Their people are educated here. Their people experience medical care here. So they make sure they build those systems, you know. But that is quite the opposite. So I think that this is something that we need to adopt. There should be, now there is a constitutional review in Ghana. I wish that they include that once you hold any position in Ghana, your children must be educated in Ghana. You and your family must have medical care in Ghana, you know, because if you know that, then you will build the school. You wouldn't allow your child to have any kind of education. You want him to have the best of education.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is something that we need to adopt. And then the idea of giving priority to political leaders in traffic, I think is something that should come to an end. Um, Maybe the president, fine, that makes sense because of security reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But for others, parliament members of parliament and other people, I think that they should be able to join the same traffic as ordinary people. Now, once you experience what the people are experiencing, this is what will force you to go to parliament and tell the people that, you know what, this use of road is not helping. Let's adopt a railway system that will ease congestions on our roads. But now people are not experiencing that. Parliamentarians are not experiencing that. When they are coming, the road is open for them to move freely. And nothing really pushes them to actually feel how the people are feeling. But if you can adopt such measures, that will actually put the people on the toes to make decisions. Then why not? I think that some of these changes can actually be made. Yeah, but until then, I don't really see much effort being put in place to change some of these things. I mean, we've seen Ghana, we are trying to construct an expressway, which is a good thing. But I wish that that is rather transformed into constructing a railway line, because a railway line from Kumasi to Accra would actually, transport cargo, would transport, the food from the north to the south, which will reduce the price of goods and services within those regions. Because food is very cheap in the villages in the north, because it's in abundance, and they don't have better transport to transport them to the south, to Accra. So the food in Accra costs 2 or 3 times higher the price than a food in the north. Let's build a railway system like we have in Germany, railway system connecting the cities that will transport some of these things, that will transport human beings. So if you live in Kumasi, for instance, you could easily work in Accra because it will take you about an hour or maybe less, to travel by regional train. So these are some of the things that I've learned in Europe, I've learned in Germany, that I think that if adopted could actually transform our society significantly to what has been viewed, as people prefer to call it, third world country, to how they put it, first world country.
Okay. So, Maxwell, again, with that same scenario, okay, of what we can do better in Africa, the family system we have in Germany or in Europe, you've been here, you study, you see how people go about with their lives, both those from Africa and also indigenous of these European countries. I don't know whether you do have a family here or not, but probably you might have gotten one or two friends, both of foreign lands or indigenous of European Union. With a family setup and education, what is your take on that?
Well, that is a very sensitive topic in Africa because of how our family system is structured,
Yeah.
making one sex or gender, that the male, the head of the family, the female as a helper.
Yeah.
This also deals with issues of biblical quotations, things in the Bible, like the man is the head of the family. Um, you know, that is quite, I've seen that that's quite different in most part of Europe, where more like equality over there. Everybody contributes their quota to it. Nobody solely depends on one for financial support, and they both perform almost the same responsibility. A man cooks, a man washes the dishes and all that. That is quite different from Africa.
Yeah.
But these are cultural differences that I think it's to be very difficult to compare, because that is more of tradition that would be very difficult to change. Yes, in some part of Accra, people are adopting this approach of Europe where things are the same. Man is the man and woman. There's no difference. Everybody perform the roles were expected. But that would take time to adopt such system. It will take a lot of time to adopt that system. Until then, in Africa, I think that the man will continue to be the head of the family, and then, the woman, of course, as a supporter. Yeah, but I think the most important thing is that we need to respect our partners and understand the burdens on them. Don't leave all the household chores on one person while you just sit down and just watch television. Because both of you will be working
and
to
watch
provide for the
Arsenal
family.
play.
Yeah, both of you will be working to provide for the family. So
Yep.
why don't you come together, both of you, and then ensure that household chores are being taken care of, the kids are being taken care of. So I think that it's just a respect for each other that we need to adopt. Not necessarily adopting someone's culture, but we need to respect our partner. We need to respect the people we are living with, married to live with. I think that is the most important thing. Once you respect somebody, you will always be of help to them. You will always assist them. You will always work together with them to ensure that things are done together and properly.
Okay, so with this same family status or like family orientation, like I asked you, how does it affect our educational system? Because when you look at the system they run here, okay, and how families are fully integrated into the educational system, I don't see that in Africa. And it is a worry because in Europe here, once in a while, you get they would say they want to have a discussion with you, the father or the mother, or both of you, more or less like a PTA meeting. But this is a separate discussion from a general PTA meeting where the parents come and discuss matters of the children at large in the school. But there are always sessions, more or less like an appraisal. Yes, it is an appraisal process, okay, or event where you sit with a teacher of the child to discuss the progress of the child, where the child is lacking and where the child is doing well. Then you look at how you can help the child grow together. I don't remember having that in Africa. Do you think some of these things, if we put them or like we bring them into the educational system, it will help us, or our culture would just not allow that? Or again, do you think it's a colonial manipulation kind of thing that is making things the way they are?
Well, for this one, I think it's something that we need to adopt. It's something very good. But first, let me say that I also worked as a teacher in Moscow, right? And I had all these encounters with parents, these meetings with them. Yes, of course, assessing the child's potentials, the things they are capable of doing, the things they are not, where their weaknesses are, and what can actually help their future. Because every child has specific talent that the teachers actually try to study, monitor for a long time, and then brief the parents about that. This guide the parents on helping the child make the right choices in life, which I think is something very good. I don't think this has got to do with the colonialism or has got to do with the traditions, but it's just about the educational system that yes, we've not really have a better approach in actually ensuring this relationship between the parents or the families and the schools. So I think it's something that we really need to adopt. Look at every child's case specifically and try to approach the parents about it. But one problem that is hindering this is lack of infrastructure. If you go to more schools, most government schools in Ghana, in Africa, I've been to Cote d'Ivoire, and it's the same, almost the same as Ghana. You have a lot of kids in the same classroom. When that is the case, it becomes very difficult to identify the potential of every single kid. And the fact that every day you have new children coming in. Because in the schools I worked when I was in Moscow, mostly the kids are between maybe 8 and 10 maximum in a classroom. That's maximum 10 kids in a classroom. So it becomes very easy to monitor every child. And from time to time, there is this rotation to put the children in classrooms where they are at par with their colleagues, because every child has their own phase of development. So if you put all of them together, it will become very difficult for some of them to catch up with their mate. So there is all this rotation, put the children in places where it becomes very easy, for them to cooperate, and then through that they develop. But we don't have that because we don't have the infrastructure. The infrastructure is not there. In most part of Africa, in Ghana, in Africa, you realize some children still sit under trees to study.
Yeah.
You know, we need to look at that, put in the maximum infrastructure, and then adopt a curriculum that will ensure effective parents-teacher collaboration. And one thing that we can also do is strengthen the internet connection between us, between the internet connection in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Because in most countries, sometimes the parent doesn't even need to go there. Every day, a report is sent to the parent regarding what the child did, the behavior, the development, and the limitation. They send this directly to the parent. So when I was a teacher, we had a system that actually connected the schools directly to the parent. So right after each lesson, after school, after the school day, a report about every child is sent directly to the parent. So including all the exercises that children did in school.
Okay.
So if we can strengthen the internet connection, build a strong internet, I think that we can also do this without necessarily even the parents having to go there to meet um, the, the, the teachers. Of course, Germany still loves the traditional way of doing things, including sending of letters every day.
Yeah.
and then they really like a traditional way of doing things. The parents coming to the school and all that. So, which is also, of course, a very good approach. But the most important thing, let's build our infrastructure, let's build our internet, and then these things will be much easier for us to implement.
Okay. So let me now take you to the future.
Yeah.
Tell me, what else Mr. Maxwell wants to be, or what are you looking at, or in 10 years' time, if I'm gonna interview, should I say, is it Mr. Maxwell or Dr. Maxwell or Mr. President or Pastor Maxwell? First of all, what do you think will happen? What's the next plan?
Well, like I said, I'm an aspiring lawyer.
Yeah.
Of course, we're also working on PhD.
Mm.
So, but for me, the titles are not even the most important thing. The most important thing about me is the impact I want to make in Ghana and in Africa. I believe that it has come to a time where we need to employ the knowledge we get outside back into the continent.
Yeah.
And if you realize most of the changes made in Ghana in the 1960s were ideas Nkrumah had sought from different countries. Remember, he studied in the UK, he studied in the US, and he had very good relationship with the Soviet Union at the time. So he had learned a lot from different parts of the world, and it became much easier for him to implement those ideas because he had seen them. Someone says, what people have not done is more difficult, but things you've seen people done before is much easier because you know the experiences, you know their mistakes, it's much easier to correct them.
Yeah.
So in the future, yeah, I'm looking forward to, of course, contribute my quota to the development of Ghana, of the continent. And I hope that I will have that opportunity, whether in the government, whether in a civil society organization, wherever I find myself. The most important thing is the impact that I will make to the country. But yes, in the future, I also look forward to working with the Legal Aid Board, which provides legal support, mostly free legal support, for people who cannot afford that. Because we have a lot of people in the prison who were imprisoned for petty crimes. Some of them I wouldn't say even crime because someone steals food and is in prison. Maybe the person was just hungry,
Yeah.
he had no choice. So
The law
working
is
with
the law, isn't it?
yes, I think it would be a great opportunity to actually help defend some of these people, reform them, and bring them back to society to contribute their quota to the development of our dear country and continent. So basically, yeah, that is it.
Yeah. So with you even talking about you looking up more on the impact of what you do or the impact you can give to Africa, let me just use this platform or this opportunity to say that yes, with Radio Top Africa, we are under a bigger NGO, or in German they will say IFAO, that we look at empowering, educating, and also integration. And with the empowerment, we don't have a limitation. We start from kids to business people. All right. yes, we look out for opportunities and donors and people who can help the community and who can help in Africa so that we can what? Make everybody's life a better one from where we first found them. So we do that. And the radio is part of that. We also do concentrate on education to educate people, both academic and social or cultural, any form of education. Actually, we do that. But you will agree with me that what in Africa, immediately the word education is mentioned, everybody thinks about the secular one. Yes, we also make sure that we do help our young ones, okay, to educate both in Africa and in the diaspora. An example, as part of the education, okay, Top Africa as an IFAO, we are building schools in Africa. Through, yes, we have built over 3 schools now, fully funded from Top Africa IFAO. No government intervention. No government intervention at all. Okay. Just the belief that people have, the individuals have, and the love they have to impact the society. Okay. And also the sense and the agency they see in education, we get people to help us do that. Yes, so we are looking out for communities in Africa that still have schools and the trees or that don't even have schools. Reach out to us and let's see how we can what help build these schools. So as part of your ambition or like your dream to make sure that you only impact or like impacting to the community is your hallmark, I will say that yes, you are meeting the right people. We are here to support such dreams. Okay, so we'll talk more or like we interact more after this discussion. Then we can see how we can come together and make sure that our dreams becomes a reality. Yes. So quite recently, we have this project of educating kids in Hamburg on ICT, how to do coding and do game development and stuff like that. That is Top Africa for you. Okay, where we had a lot of funding and support to do that. Yes, though we will say that we still need more help. Okay, and I'm saying all this because when you look at the community we have in Germany, and let me limit it to Hamburg, people like you and I who are a bit educated or who are educated from Africa and we come here, first of all, we struggle to get the jobs to meet our required educational level. That is where the integration come in here too. So Top Africa had that avenue to help us integrate. Then we tend to have kids, or we settle or we make babies and stuff like that. Then our children start to have these cultural differences, and some of them don't get some of the opportunities they get or their counterparts get. So Top Africa again gives this opportunity to our kids to have these opportunities by educating them in the way we do. And with the radio, we are here, we are sharing your story so that others would learn from you. Let your story be a motivation for them to also what put things right. It's all good for the betterment of Africa. Yes, so Mr. Maxwell, I will say that you are in the right place. And I will say that if you have any other challenge or any ambitions or ideas or policies you want to share, Radio Top Africa and Top Africa is available for you. And my listeners and viewers, if you heard all that Maxwell was saying, that should tell you that let's not limit ourselves. Let's not limit ourselves. There are a lot of opportunities. Okay. But before you continue, let me pull your legs small. Now that you have all this international law background, okay, or global law background, do you think, okay, US invading Venezuela is ethically or lawful per the international standards? And
Well,
again, accent to be given, and I'm using my words carefully, accent to be given Greenland.
and issues of Greenland.
Yes.
You know, you see, the thing about international law, I mean, I'll talk specifically about law, is that, first of all, if you look at the United Nations Charter, and
Yep.
look at Article 2, Section 4, of course, it's really against invading a sovereign country. That is it in Article 2.4. It's really against invading a sovereign country. So once you invade a sovereign country, it's considered unlawful. However, if you also look at Article 51, it also talks about issues of self-defense. That is, we have individual and collective self-defense. So if a state is actually threatened or feels that there is or have enough evidence that there is kind of existential threat to them, the state may put in some measures to ensure their own security. And in most cases, they do not exclude issues of even preemptive strikes. That is to prevent that threat from even escalating. Yes, but it's a bit technical, especially when you look at other laws like we have what we call the Geneva Conventions, which specifically talks about, there should be specific attack, and it defines what an attack is before you can say that, I'm defending myself. I mean, if you go by that and you say that, what attack was it on the United States? Was there an attack that actually warranted them to take that decision to go into Venezuela? This had to do with going into Venezuela to begin with, not even talk about capture of the president. That is a different thing.
Yeah.
So was there an attack? The United States believed there was an attack. They believe that, a lot of criminals are invading their country from Venezuela. They believe that they're releasing some prisoners into their country, which of course could was an attack. It's more like a direct attack to them, But that case deals with, I think we will leave that to the judges to actually investigate that to see if there was actually an attack on them, warranting the United States to conduct such operation. Because I am not an investigator, so I do not have that evidence to say that indeed there was an attack on them, warranting self-defense. But the capture of a president, well, I don't know any law, maybe it exists, but personally, I've not seen any law that allows other countries to capture the president, a certain president of any country. Maybe that particular law exists, but for me, I don't know. I've not seen any law that allows that. So yes, I mean, if there is no law like that, then of course the judges will go ahead and say that that was unlawful to capture a certain president of a state. And I'm quite familiar with the Russian constitution. And if you look at the Russian constitution, for instance, they have the usual three organs of government. That is the legislature, judiciary, and executive. Aside these three organs of government, there is also the president. So in effect, they have four organs of government. And the president is placed above these three organs of government.
Wow.
So if, for instance, you capture the president of that country, it's like you've captured the state. That is how it's interpreted. And that would be a direct war with a country.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the Venezuelan constitution, but I am believing that it would be similar to that, because considering their socialist policy, it would be very similar. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very it's a very dangerous thing to do. I mean, if it's right to put it that way, it's a very dangerous thing to do, and it could easily lead to a huge war between the United States and Venezuela if not properly managed. I think they are trying to manage it very well, but it's a very dangerous thing to do. Whether it's self-defense or not, that one I will leave it to the judges to decide, because they have enough evidence to actually assess whether the United States was indeed defending themselves or just.
But what is your opinion? Were they defending themselves, or they've just evoked an attack?
Well, that really needs.
What is your opinion?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like it's not something you can just look at it and say that they were just defending themselves. It's similar to the Russian case, the Russian war in Ukraine. The Russians claimed they were defending themselves. They were defending the Russian people in the eastern part of Ukraine. But if you do not have that evidence, to me, it is not advisable to say that, it was just an attack.
Okay.
That is mostly a political statement. But I am not a politician in this case. In this case, I'm talking about law. So unless there is enough evidence to actually make that judgment that indeed, yes, they were defending themselves or they just invaded that country, I don't think it's advisable to say that, to state explicitly that they were defending themselves or they just attacked.
Okay. I will leave it there. Again, I'm still trying to pull your legs in this discussion. Do you think it would be wise for Africa to unite as one country, one big country?
Yes, it's a very good thing to do. In fact, that would have been the ideal thing to do.
Okay.
But the problem is, I don't think that is going to be possible, in my opinion.
Why?
Because first, let's go a little back to history. When Africa was colonized, Africa was divided in Berlin, right?
Yes.
Between powers. That
Where
was
you are. Yes.
Yeah. Between November 1884 and February 1885, they met, divided the continent. But remember that even before they divided the continent, it wasn't one country.
No.
There were empires. So we had the Songhai Empire, we had the Mali Empire, we had the old Ghana Empire. They all existed. And they had their own differences. And sometimes there were some petty tensions between them as well. They had their own culture. So even Nkrumah realized it in his book, Africa Must Unite, that, you know what, that is not going to be pragmatic to say that Africa should have one country. But what Africa can do is to unite specific sectors that are important for our development. And one part is security. We must unite the security sector of Africa. So imagine Africa with one army. There is no foreign country that would dare invade any African country because they know the force that Africa will come up with. And secondly is the economic sector. You know, the United States is United States because of how huge its economy is. So if we had that huge economy, I think the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is seeking to ensure that, but it's very difficult. But if you had a united economy, such that you can easily transport goods from Accra, Ghana, maybe to Tripoli in Libya, you realize that things will be much easier. You know, things will be much easier. Remove all these tariffs on it, all these unnecessary taxes on transporting goods. It will be much easier for people to move goods, people to do businesses across Africa. Because as it stands now, it's more difficult and more expensive traveling within Africa or doing business in Africa than doing business outside Africa. You know, and that was a colonial strategy where the colonial powers linked their colonies directly to their country. So if you go to Namibia, they prefer to collaborate with Germany. Ghana, most people prefer to go to the US or the UK. You know, if you go to the Francophone countries, go to Congo, they prefer to go to Belgium. Cote d'Ivoire, go to France. That is it. That was a colonial strategy. We need to change that and ensure that we trade among ourselves. So Ghana wants to trade with Burkina Faso. Ghana wants to trade with Egypt. Ghana wants to trade with South Africa. So let's unite that economic sector. And thirdly, we need to unite our foreign policy. Now we have divided voices. We go to the United Nations and everybody is saying whatever they want. Like everybody have their own position. But if we had one voice, we will be a strong force in the world. You know, now African countries want a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. But yes, the countries are promising them and all that. But you could see that it's not really going as they would want. But imagine 54 African countries come together, the same foreign policy, and we say that we need 2 seats on the UN Security Council. Nobody will reject them because they know that once they reject them, these countries will boycott it. And this is one of the largest economies in the world. Imagine they boycotting the United Nations. That would be setback. So we need to have one foreign policy, one economy, which will come with one currency. Julius Malema of South Africa said, imagine an African currency backed by Africa's resources. This will be the strongest currency in the whole world. So let's unite the economy, let's unite our security sector, let's unite our foreign policy, let's unite our transport system. And I think that Africa will be on the right path to go. But a single country, I don't think that is possible, at least in our generation.
Okay, you think it's not possible because the leaders will still not want to give out leadership to one individual, isn't it?
Exactly. They wouldn't want to sacrifice what they classify their sovereignty. And this has always been the case, actually. And the difference is we still have differences in Africa, which will be to, to resolve. So the best thing is to unite specific sectors, not to really push for one country with one leader, one president. I don't think that is possible or even realistic.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll go for another quick commercial break. Then when I come, we'll take the very last session where I would want Mr. Maxwell BOAMAH to tell us or to give us his closing remarks and what we'll take home with us. So I'll be back.
Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Akwaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +49 176 416 27723. Email us at info@akwaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.akwabatravelandtours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Akwaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +49 176 416 27723. Email us at info@akwaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.akwabatravelandtours.com. Thank you. Greetings from Hamburg. My name is Teresa Edu from Akwaba Travel and Tours Hamburg. If you want holiday packages, you are free to come to our office. If you want tickets all over the world, our ticket sales is global. You can also follow on us for visa services, and for our Ghanaian fellows, you can apply Ghana passports here in our office, Vansbecker Chose 15C. We are the U-Bahn station, Vatinal. You can also reach us per telephone +49 176 416 27723. Email us at info@akwaba-tours.com. Visit our website www.akwabatravelandtours.com. Thank you.
Yes. So we are back again, and I will say welcome. And those who are just joining us, this is Radio Top Africa Hamburg. I will say sorry for missing this interesting and impactful interaction with Mr. Maxwell. Yes, and those who have been here already, I also say thank you for staying tuned and enjoying this discussion with me. In fact, I don't wish to end this thing now, but I just have some few minutes because other programs will be coming up soon. Mr. Maxwell, tell me, what do you leave the world with if, let's say, the world is ending today? What should we carry along? What the listeners and viewers across the globe, those watching you from Ghana, let's say from your kindergarten friends to those you interact with today, people who don't know who Maxwell is, people who reaching you out from Russia, your friends, your classmates, everybody, the camera is on you, the mic is yours. Let's say in 5 minutes, what do you want to share with the world?
Well, first of all, is the fact that we came with nothing and we are going to leave with nothing. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for good things. Of course, you should do strive for good things. But the most important thing is not the material things that you acquired in excess. The most important thing is the impact that you make in the lives of the people. What legacy are you leaving behind for people to come and then pinpoint that, you know what, this person existed, and this, because of this person, here has been changed. This has been changed in my life. Because of this person, today we can go to school easily. Because of this person, we can commute easily. Because of this person, I have this and I have that. So I am urging everybody to do the little that they can, wherever they find themselves, to leave a positive legacy, to impact in the lives of the people around them, impact in their community, and wherever they find themselves. That's all I have.
That's all you have to say. Then let me add you. Let me push you to African leaders. What do you have to tell
The African leaders,
them?
that's a tough one.
Yeah. That's why I said I wanted to push you small. So to African leaders, what do you have to tell them?
African leaders,
Yeah.
I think I'll just tell them, Africa is our home. No matter wherever you find ourselves, you know, no, I think it wouldn't be much different from what I said. Think about the future generation. Think about the people who are struggling down there just to survive. Before you rent a private jet that costs so much money, think about that child who sit under a tree to study. Think about that child who have to cross the water lake simply to go to school. You know, before you accumulate money in a foreign bank account, which you want to die and leave it there, think about those people who are just struggling just to find a job to do. Invest that money in industries that will employ these people. Think about the people who cross the Mediterranean each day, risking their life, not to get billions of money, not to get some natural resource, but simply to get a job and just an average life that will provide them with what to eat, a good medical care, and education. That is what people are looking for, the basic necessities of life. So before spending extravagantly on things which do not help the society in any way, I will urge them, invest this money in the lives of the people, construct these companies, employ these people, provide them with the requisite education, and together, let's build the mother continent together. We have enough resources to do this, and let's come together and do it.
Thank you so much. My take home, okay, you first made a statement that we should first prioritize what we produce before that of others. I think that hit me a lot and deeply, and I believe that others would also take that thing home. Let's prioritize what we produce before you think about others. Wow, that is also very impactful there, and also your advice to the leaders, telling them that hey, Africa is all we have. We should do well to think about how we can make it a productive one rather than making it a graveyard. Yes. So, listeners and viewers, this is Mr. Maxwell for you. Mr. Maxwell, sorry, I didn't give you an opportunity. If you have any shout outs to give, you have 2 minutes before I wrap up. Sorry for that.
Well, of course, first of all, to all the people of Africa,
Yep.
and then people, Africans in the diaspora. Yes, to my teammates in my NGO, IPAD, International Partnership for African Development. They are doing an amazing job, and I thank you so much for all the things they're doing. Of course, to my colleagues at the African Students Union, yeah, I say hello to them and everybody, all the Africans in Germany, wherever you find yourself. Thank you very much for the support, and we hope to continue doing this to impact more lives in Africa.
Thank you so much. So, my viewers and listeners, I always tell you that, look, when Sita is sitting on this seat, this very red seat, I'm going to bring you a lot of impactful and great programs. I'll bring you personalities that will share stories that would change your life. Yes, change won't come if you don't get up to seek for it. Okay, or if we don't start to change ourselves, we won't get that change. And Maxwell has been one of the examples of the agents of change we have in our community right now. Yes, he is based in Berlin. He is very open. Anybody who wants to reach out to him, yes, you can reach out through his social media handles, or you can reach out to me or Radio Top Africa Hamburg, and we'll get you connected to him. And you can discuss with him your challenges and how he can also help you improve upon your life or your community or your business, because he has what it takes to do that. That still tells you that Africa, we have the men. We just need to what? Prioritize what we produce, not just in items or in goods, but also in the human capital that we have. Yes, today I sit here and I make this noise in quotes, all right? But you don't know my journey. You don't know my journey. We are all still growing. Tomorrow, it will be somebody else. Tomorrow, I'll not be interviewing or discussing with Maxwell. It will be another person. That tells you the strength we have. That tells you the values that we are picking up from each day, and we learn and we want to grow. Why don't you also be that agent of change? And let's make a better future for us and our kids. I would want to say thank you so much for staying with Radio Top Africa for all these years. It's a new year, and I told you this year is a year of fire. We are bringing you more and more and powerful programs like what we just had today. Mr. Maxwell, for you, I will say that may the Almighty God bless you, protect you, and keep you. May He make whatever you want to do or your ambitions come to pass. Your real purpose for being on this earth, like you rightly said, you desire to impact the society. May that become a reality. May Radio Top Africa be your partner in making this a reality. And may God bless us all as a community. And I will always say, there is no home like Germany, Hamburg. Radio Top Africa, we are here for you. Shout outs to my producer, Johnny Amwako, who is always my backbone. But sometimes he tries to be very stubborn with me. And also my director, Mr. Otabel, and he's called Jerry Amwako Mensa. And the old man in the house, Mr. Desmond. And then my mom, Madam Tess of Aquaba Travel and Tours. I also say thank you to all of you for supporting this show. And I will say I'm out of here.